Hey folks, welcome to Lead to Cash. In this video, we'll go over a couple common business challenges / use cases that your sales and pricing teams may be able to relate to with their day-to-day quoting experience. Not only that, but I'll also go over a solution using Revenue Cloud's pricing procedures that address these challenges and can easily be augmented to enforce price guardrails and reduce manual touch in your quoting process. Even though this is a relatively simple solution, it does require a foundational understanding of pricing procedures, context definitions, node mappings. So if you haven't already, I highly encourage you to go check out the Cloud update. He has a lot of good comprehensive videos around these topics. Cool. Well, if you're ready to get started, let's jump in. Okay, so here I've got two use cases side by side, and we'll go left to right. So in the red, we've got the problem statement, and then in the black, we have some of the pain points that come out of the problem statement, right? So looking at use case number one, updating product lines on quotes. Here is basically a company that puts out large deals, but the issue is that reps are having to manually make updates to the date values, the discount values, the attribute values on these quote lines line by line. So you can imagine the amount of manual touch there is for, especially large deals. On top of this, reps also already know, hey, what is the attribute, what's the discount that I need to associate to a certain product line, product family, right? So for example, as a rep, I already know, hey, for all my hardware lines, I need to apply a 15% discount. For all my subscription lines, I need to apply a 20% discount. But I'm unable to do that right now because there's no way to enforce that within the system. It's all manual line level updates. And, so one, a lot of manual touch there. Two, lack of governance between product line and associated attribute value that can be applied. And then three, it just takes too long to get the quotes out the door, right? How does the solution that we talked about come into play here? So if you recall from the first title slide, it's a category-driven line update solution. So really what it's going to do is we're going to build a pricing procedure that basically you set a product line category, anything, it could be product family, but basically some sort of category that you have mapped across your products on a quote. And you're going to input a value that could be a date, it could be a discount, it could be any attribute you set on the quote line at the time of quoting. And the procedure is going to mass update per category those values. So that's how the solution comes into play. It expedites your quoting process, reduces the amount of touch by a lot because it's only a few clicks, right? You're not going line by line anymore. You're going by category. And then ultimately, right, it's a lot cleaner UI. You'll see it in the demo. Cool. So that's use case number one. Use case number two, line level discount guardrails. So here, the business, again, it's still manual updates, but here the issue is that they have ingrained discounts, MSA standard discounts, associated with their product lines. And right now they're having to manually calculate the additional discount that they can apply on top of the MSA discount so that they can stay under the total aggregate discount per product line. Okay, so let me play that back a little bit slower and with an example. So for example, let's say, all my hardware products, right? All my products that are type hardware have an MSA discount of 10%. I need to stay under a total discount of 50% for that hardware product, but I'm having to calculate the delta additional discount that I can apply to stay under that target discount. And remember, it's not always going to be 50 minus 10 to get that 40, right? Because the additional discount is driving off of the price after the 10% MSA to standard discount is applied. So there's a little math there to it. So again, how does the solution that we talked about earlier that we're going to build out apply here, right? So we're going to take it a step further. We're going to tweak the pricing procedure, but it's still going to be in terms, right? You're going to be mass updating products via category, but you're going to be mass updating products via category for a target discount. So you'll be, let's say, from our example, right? Hardware has a max total discount of 50%. So per category, you would apply that 50%, and then we're going to add a formula nodule to the pricing procedure to automatically calculate the additional discount so that reps at this company won't have to manually do the math to stay under their pricing guardrails. So in turn, right, that reduces revenue leakage across product lines because now reps are no longer surpassing the total target discount they can apply for each product line. And then not only that, but it's a stepping stone towards a more mature approval strategy. So you may have been thinking this, hey, why do I need to build this out if I can just build out approvals? But let's say you don't have an approval strategy in place, or your company's still developing, still in the maturity phase. This would be a good stepping stone towards that. Cool. So we went through a couple use cases. I hope they were clear, and they'll get more clear as we get into the demo. But let's look at some of the features that we get with the solution, right? So we looked at the challenges, the use cases, the problem statements. We talked a little bit about how the solution is going to address them. But just the solution in general, right? We looked at 2 use cases. It's versatile across common use cases that your business may be running into, right? And it's not just applicable for discounts, target discounts. You can mass update date values that may be specific to product lines. You can mass update any sort of attribute that's niche to your business and associated to each product line, right? Line level UX and traceability. So what this is really calling out, right, is let's say you need to make ad hoc updates to certain products within product categories, product lines, right? You use the solution, you do a bulk update of, value updates, but you need to make some ad hoc changes and whatnot. You still have that line level editability that you may not get with some other modules and some other solutions within Revenue Cloud. Not only that, but the traceability there kind of coincides with the feature on the right here, category-driven metrics, in terms of, let's say, you need to pull reports per product line. So any sort of value you mass update across products, product lines with this solution enables and lays a foundation for you to pull metrics and reports off of that. So going back to the target discount example that we looked at in the previous slide, let's say, you need to understand where revenue leakage is pulling from across your different product lines. Because you have this solution fleshed out and because you have the specific fields updated and systematically calculated, you're able to pull Salesforce reports that give you insight into different product lines and, hey, where are max discounts being applied, where are certain attributes, certain dates being applied, etc. Right? And then we went a little counterclockwise here, but accelerated time to build. So this is a relatively simple solution. You'll see that it's really just a list operation and an assignment within the pricing procedure, and it's less than a handful of fields to add to your node mapping and context definition. Of course, to get it a little bit more complex, right, you may need to add formula modules and whatnot, but at the base of it, it's really simple to build, shouldn't take too much time, and you wouldn't have to worry about any sort of performance strains on your system. Cool. So without further ado, let's hop into the system. I'll show you what use case number 1 looks like, mass updating for a discount or attribute value, and then I'll also show you use case number 2, mass updating target discounts. Okay, so we're in the system right now. I've just got, a few quote lines here, right? So I've got a laptop, and then I have a few accessories, right? Headsets and desktop. The other thing to note here is I've got 2 fields, right? So this is what's going to really drive my solution for use case number 1, category-driven line updates. So I've got it for discount, right? But it can be any data type on the quote line that you want to update. So it could be a currency value, it could be an attribute value that's niche to your business that you have to update. It could be date values that are niche to your business unit that you have to update on the quote line, right? For this example, we're just going to do a simple additional discount. So here, discount category, again, these are 2 quote fields mapped to the sales transaction context definition for the quote, right? I've got laptop, CPU, accessory. I'll tell you right off the bat, I've got laptop mapped to my laptop product, and then I've got accessory mapped to the rest of these products here. I'm not using CPU on this quote right now, but I could. I just got that there for a third category. This is a % discount value that's going to drill down as soon as I set, hey, what's the category product line I want to set the discount for. So let's go ahead and do our accessories. Do 10%. I'll click save, and this is going to require a line level edit to trigger the calculation, right? Similar to if you've played around with the discount distribution service, it's similar to that, right? But you can get around this if you use a Lightning Web Component Apex, so that it's real time, so that you don't have to edit the quantity or edit any fields, right? So right away, we'll see that that discount, right, dropped down for all my lines. So I didn't have to go in and manually update these values line by line, right? So that's for all the accessories there. Let's do our laptop. And let's set a 50% discount. And then again, let's make an edit to the TLE to trigger the calculation. Okay, so 50% right there, right? And the other thing to notice is it retains the history, right? So let's say we only did 2 category updates, but let's say you've got like, I don't know, 5 category updates. Every time you update a discount value or any value, right, with the solution, it's going to retain the history for previous categories. So you'll still see the price point is still staying there. It's still knocking off 10% off of the previous accessories, and retaining the new category update that you just made, right? Another thing to note here is, let's say, right, for my accessories, there's one of them that I want to change the discount on. You still have that line level traceability and editability that you can change. So it's not static in terms of what you set up here, right? So you'll see that if I wanted to make an ad hoc change, I can do that, right? Okay, so now we're going through use case number 2, and if you recall, right, we are mass updating the threshold total discount, right, to automatically calculate the delta discount that we can apply, given that we have ingrained discounts. So refresher here, when I say ingrained discounts, it doesn't have to be a discount. This could be ingrained promos, right, that are automatically applied. This could be channel discounts, MSA discounts, right? But you get the idea. Cool. So again, we have this exact same 4 lines. We've got the categories, right? So let's go ahead and do this. So accessory, and you'll see here, right? So the ingrained discounts is exclusive of the solution, right? This can be whatever you want. You can see that I've got 25% for 2 of these accessories. I've got 15% for the last one, right? So let's say the max total discount we can take off the list price, right, from our price strategy team. They mentioned we could do a max of, I don't know, 60%, right? So let's set that. I'll do retrigger the calculation via an edit. Okay. Cool. So here you'll see, right? And this is what I was talking about earlier when I said it's not going to be a simple subtraction from 60% minus 25, right? Because this discount percentage is what got automatically calculated. So the solution dropped down these values, mass updated your categories, right? So let's say our accessories have a max threshold discount of 60%, and then the solution also automatically calculated the additional, right, discount percentage that you can apply to stay under this threshold. Okay, so that's what we've done here, and then let's do the same for our laptop, right? And let's say the max discount we can take off the list price for laptops is 40%. Right. Okay, I'll do another edit to trigger the calculation. Cool. So again, right, it's updated for that category of products on my quote, and then it's automatically calculated, hey, what's the delta discount, additional discount I can apply on top of my MSA discount? Yeah. And again, right, just similar to use case 1, let's say, going back to our accessories, let's say just to reduce the number of manual touch, we use this solution, right, so that we don't have to go line by line. But let's say for one of the accessories, we know that, for our desktop, it's really 80%. So again, similar to use case 1, I can make ad hoc updates, and it's still going to retain the history of my previous updates, right? For my previous accessories, my previous laptop, and then it's going to auto-calculate the delta again. Yeah? Okay, so coming out of the demo, we just saw how the solution addressed both the business challenges that we looked at the beginning of the video, right? How do we mass update quote lines via product category? And then two, how do we enforce pricing guardrails across our different product lines so that our sales reps don't surpass the total discount that can be applied, right? So what's the solution architecture? How do we build out the pricing procedure to do this? First things first, right, we have to create our field. So we'll go left to right again. Product 2 had to create the category field. So this is what's going to be used in the product discovery context definition to pull from the product 2 record onto your quote line, right? I've got discount category here, but again, reiterating that this can be any value, any attribute value, any currency value, any date value that you want to mass update across product categories, right? So here I've got discount category, it's pick list, laptop, CPU, accessory. On the quote, I'm creating again discount category and then discount value. These are the two fields that were above the TLE and I used to input my value so that they drilled down on the quote lines, right? They drill down the discount value on the quote lines. And then on the quote line, again, I need discount category as a pick list because in the pricing procedure, I'm going to use it to be mapped to the quote so it knows which quote lines to apply the category to, apply the discount to. Okay, so after creating the fields, I'm going to go to setup, context definitions. I'm going to manipulate my product discovery and my sales transaction extended context definition. On the product discovery, simply write, as we spoke to earlier, we're going to map the node for discount category from the category product to the product 2. And then we'll pivot over to our sales transaction extended context definition. And then we'll do the node mappings for quote fields on the sales transaction, quote line fields on the sales transaction item. Feel free to pause the video, kind of digest this. And then after you map the nodes, you'll have to do the quote entities mapping, right? Link the fields together. The reason I have this highlighted in blue, right, is you'll note that these are the pick list fields on the quote and quote line. For some reason, when I set the node value as a pick list, I was running into issues and errors. So try out string, see if that helps. Maybe pick list will work for you, but just wanted to call that out so you don't bump into the same obstacles that I did. Okay, so after you map these, you go to the pricing procedure, and this is the solution, guys. It's literally just 2 elements, but the order is important. So if you have the template that Salesforce provides for pricing procedures, search for this box, list operation amount. So this is where your percentage discount gets applied. And the solution that you create needs to live on top of this. So right before this, it's a list operation. You're going to have the line item value for discount category on the left equals the quote discount category, quote level. And then you're going to assign the number field, the discount value, to the item discount percentage, right? This is out of the box. You don't have to create this. This should already be there when you're creating your pricing procedure because it's already used in the percentage-based line level module down here, right? So basically, you're just feeding the value that you input to be used in the out-of-the-box template. If you're not doing discounts, you're doing attributes or dates or currencies, you should be good here, right? You don't have to worry about putting it on top of the discount template, right? Because you're not using discounts. Cool. So let's look at what that looks like in the system real quick. So here I'm in setup. I'm in context definitions. Let me go to this is my sales transaction context definition. I'm not going to go through all of them, right? Just want to show you, kind of like the path that I'm taking. So under sales transaction, I've got discount category, the API names, right? Discount value. You can ignore this. This is something I was playing around with. And this is what I was talking about, right? This is a pick list in Object Manager on the quote. but I'm mapping it data type wise as a string. Okay. It's just something that worked for me. Picklist didn't seem to work for me. Same thing with sales transaction item. This is for use case 2, so don't get confused there. Use case 1 is just really this one, right? We got the API name. And then obviously, right, you map the node, right? You add the tag name, click save, and then you go to your quote entities mapping, and that's where you link. I've got to open another tab, but that's where you basically, right, link your respective values. So I've got discount category here, and it's mapped, right? This is the tag we created, and it's getting mapped to the actual field on the quote. And you'll do this for all the stuff on the slide earlier, right? Not just the quote line, and then also for the product discovery context definition. Okay. So that, and then the pricing procedure, right? We already looked at it, but let me show you all real quick. Yeah, so this is all templated, right? Nothing fancy here. The only change that I made is I found this section of the template where discounts are getting applied. You'll see it's already used, item discount percentage. Right above that, I'm creating a list operation, right? I have the line item discount category equals to the quote discount category, and then I'm assigning the number value of the discount to the item discount percentage. So this is already used here, and then this value is what's get injected into my percentage discount. Yeah. All right. So that is that. The only difference, so that's for use case 1, right? What about if we want to do the target discount thresholds? So exact same thing. I won't go over this. I'll go over it in the system, might be better. But you're going to create a target discount field. That's a number value. And that is it's going to act like a buffer. So what do I mean by buffer? Let's look at the pricing procedure. So exact same thing. You're just adding to your context definitions the target discount at the line item level, right? Just need it at the line item level. I created this field on the quote line. Data type is number, and then of course it's created, it's mapped, etc. Right? MSA discount. I created this for the demo, but this is going to be anything that is your ingrained discount. So ingrained channel discount, ingrained promo, right? This is assuming this already exists at your company. Okay. So what does the procedure look like? Okay, so first things first, we need to find where, if you already have it calculated, where are the promos, where are the MSA discount calculated? That's where the solution's got to live right under that, because it's got to apply right after the, the standard discounts there, right? So this is just a simple calculation. It's just list price times 1 minus the MSA discount. Just something I had there for demo purposes to show you. But the solution, right? So this is basically the same that we just saw for the first use case. You still have the discount category on the line item. You still have the discount category at the quote. Number value, right? That's still the same. The only difference is this is no longer item discount percentage. This is the target discount, the number field we created on the quote line. So you're going to assign it there. And this is going to be the new piece. So this is another list operation. And we're checking to see if the target discount field is not null, because if it's not null, then that's when we want to calculate the delta. And this is where we actually calculate the additional, right? So this is the field between MSA and target discount. What's the additional discount that we can apply on top of the MSA? So there's some math here. Feel free to pause and grab this. I'll put it in the description as well. It's a little messy, but I'll put the calculation in the description. And then the output is going to be the item discount percentage. So our target discount was kind of a buffer to hold that so we could calculate the delta, but we're going to put that end value in item discount percentage, and that's going to live prior to this piece that's in the template, Salesforce's pricing procedure template. Yeah, that's what gets used here to get applied. There is one last thing that I want to run by y'all, and that is putting our solution right side by side with the discount distribution service. But the thing to call out here is I want to make sure y'all are aware of is they're both powerful solutions in their own way and for their own unique purposes. So I know the business challenges that we addressed in this video and the demo we looked at were more discount centric, but let's remember, right, that with our category driven line update solution that we built out, it's not just for discounts, right? You can step outside the realm of discounts. You can apply this for any data type across your quote lines. It could be currency, could be any attribute value, text value, etc., right? The other thing to note here is you get history retention. So if you remember right, every time we change the category, it still retained the values of the previous category updates that we made, right? And on top of that, we were able to edit it at a line level, right? These are some of the things that you're not going to get with discounts when using discount distribution service. But that's not to say, right, if we pivot over to this side of the slide, with discount distribution service, you actually get true weighted discount distribution. And you have that flexibility across your distribution logic, whether it's equal, proportionate, and then the type of discount, amount, percentage, right? You have that way to enforce mandating minimums across your line items. And you can still do target price, target discounts, right? But it's more at an aggregate quote level, right? With our solution, it was more at a line level. So if you need to have a more aggregate quote level target discount, right, the discount distribution service would help flex that use case, right? So it's not really, so to speak, that one's better than the other or one accommodates more features than the other. I just want to bring this up because some of y'all may have been like, well, don't they have the discount distribution service already? Like, why are we doing this, right? But yeah, that's just kind of call it out. So let's look at it in real time, right? So I've got it's set up here. So right now I have the pricing procedure active for only discount distribution service. It's not for the category allocation. But the thing to note here is I've added a list operation, which enables you to still use the category updates with discount distribution service, right? So let's take a look. Okay, so already, right, I've set a $100 discount value with proportionate logic, right, on laptops. So you'll see $100 knocked off here, right? So 1,049, 949. Nothing is knocked off the accessories, right? List price is retained. Okay, let's update. Let's do something here. Let's do something for accessories, and then let's make this, I don't know, let's make it 100. Or sorry, that was the same value. Let's make it 150. Okay, and then we need to trigger the recalculation, similar to our own solution. This is just how it goes with these. So I'm going to make an edit to trigger the recalculation. And right away, right, you'll see that the laptop, the previous category, went back. So this is what I'm talking about, history retention. It's not retaining the discount allocation that we applied prior, but you'll see that it has updated for the accessories. So that's what I mean by history retention, right? You get that with our solution, you don't get it with this. But of course, with this solution, it's a lot more flexible in terms of your distribution logic, right? We don't have this as a solution, right? That's where the awesomeness, the complexity of the DDS module comes into play, that you can actually proportionally distribute your discounts. You can equally distribute your discounts. You have the flexibility between amount, percentage override, and then you can apply it at the net unit price or the total price, right? Those are all things you're not going to get with the solution that we built out earlier. Yeah. So keep that in mind as you're going through your own company use cases or your clients. Those are, some considerations to take into place knowing what solution to use at what time, right? Cool. Well, I hope this was helpful. And if you have any suggestions, feedback, feel free to add it to the comments. We're all learning this year. Awesome. Well, I'll see you all soon.